Welcome to the Human Impact Theory Podcast. I'm Jacqueline Way, the founder of 365 Give and your host. Welcome to my home. We aren't fancy, but we are doing everything we can to help you create a life with purpose and meaning every day. I am so happy you're taking the time to join us today because this is an episode you don't want to miss. When was the last time your answer to the question, "How are you?" was simply fine? Most people today will tell you that they're fine, but it's really a big red flag that something more is going on. The truth is, we are living in the middle of a global emotional crisis. 85% of people say they're not thriving. We are stressed, disconnected, emotionally exhausted, and we've gotten really good at pretending we're fine, even when we're not. That's where today's guest comes in. Curtis Morley calls himself an emotionologist. He studies the emotions we think we're feeling and the ones we're hiding underneath. He says many of us are walking through life with what he calls counterfeit emotions. In our conversation, we're going to talk about those big emotions we're trying to hide from: fear, shame, loneliness, anger, and my favorite, is it love or is it lust? If you have ever felt stuck, numb, overwhelmed, disconnected from yourself or the world around you, this is the episode you don't want to miss because you're going to get the answers, the tools, the practices to finally feel alive. So let's not go any further. Let's get started. Curtis, welcome to the Human Impact Theory podcast. I'm so excited to have you with us today. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm excited as well. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Well, I think one of the things that I loved about this conversation and looking forward to it is you and I started from a really interesting place. And I wanted to talk to you specifically about some of the things that are going on in our world right now that are really interfering with that peace of mind for people. And I want to start today with a few fun facts because this is really going to set people up for the expertise that you have. So, a couple of facts that are out there that not everybody knows about. One is that 85% of people, this amazed me, and this was from a global emotions report from the Gallup. And 85% of people say they are not thriving in their daily lives.
Mm,
52% of adults globally say they feel lonely regularly, which that in the United States, the Surgeon General has declared that loneliness is a public health crisis. And I know we're going to talk about this today. There has been a 25% increase of both anxiety and depression, and that's from the World Health Organization. So we can really see that people are suffering at a global scale at the moment. And the average emotional intelligence, so our EQ, which we are going to really get into today, scores have fallen 13%, and that we are just not actually even aware of what's going on with our emotions these days. And I think this was one of my favorite stats I wanted to share with everybody before we got going, so you know where everyone is at, is that 60% of people use for distraction now, so they're not dealing with their emotions every day, is their phone, food, work, and alcohol. Those are the primary coping mechanisms and strategies that are now being used. And the average adult, you're going to love this one, Curtis, picks their phone up to check it 144 times a day. Here we go. Let's get into this, Curtis. We have a lot to talk about and a lot of work to do in this world. Curtis, your title, you are an emotionologist. We're going to get right into it. Tell me
yeah.
what that is all about.
An emotionologist is similar to what you think of a psychologist. A psychologist deals with the study of the psyche or the study of the mind. An emotionologist deals with the study of emotions or the study of the heart. And so very, very similar fields. Emotionology is really about understanding what emotions are driving us every day, how to understand those emotions, how to regulate those emotions, and how to find peace in those emotions.
And that's exactly the direction we're going to hopefully go with everybody today. So, as a starting point for everyone, Curtis, and I know you have a really clear methodology through this, but I want to even start a little bit before that. And that is, how do people even begin to become aware of how they're feeling? And from all of those stats that we just covered off, that indicates to me that people aren't even starting from the very specific point of us, how am I feeling right now? Because we
Yeah.
know the common response, the title of this podcast, how are you today? I'm fine. That
hmm
response to me does not indicate that we're actually taking any time to actually tap into how we're feeling. So, where do we get started with our emotions?
Yeah. Fine isn't an emotion. And and that is the response. I'm okay, I'm fine. Those aren't emotions. Those aren't things that give us an indicator, that gives us a barometer. It's just an ambiguous response. Yeah, understanding our emotions is so critical. Brene Brown did a study. I believe she surveyed over 7,000 people,
Yeah.
and she asked them in the moment, "What are you feeling right now?" And in general, they were able to come up with three responses: mad, sad, glad. They were able to say, I'm upset, I'm angry, I'm happy, or I'm despondent. One of the three. And if you look at the number of emotions, I've done multiple focus groups around this. I literally have stacks and stacks and stacks of post-it notes right over here on the shelf in my office. That's where I keep my emotions. I keep my emotions on the shelf. Um,
On post-it notes. I love it.
on post-it notes, but literally thousands of emotions that we've been able to identify, and yet most people can only narrow it down to three.
Isn't that incredible?
And and it
So,
is be oh, go
where's
ahead.
a good place for people to get started with that? Like if it was today, we're asking our audience right now, and they're whoever's tuning in and listening, where could they start right now, just as a starting point? Because I want to leave here today for people that they have some tools and strategies to start exactly where they are. What's one thing that people could do right now before we even move anywhere forward, to actually tap into their emotion today?
I love this question. And what I do in my courses, in my recovery program, all of those things, is I have people go through what I call PEMS, PEMSSS. So
Okay.
PEMS. And what I do is I have them either call someone, talk with someone in their family every single day, at least twice a day. And the PEMS stands for physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, and sexual.
Okay.
And what we do is we go through each one of those. How am I feeling physically? Because physical sensation is part of your emotions. And so how am I feeling physically? Jacqueline, how are you feeling physically today?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Actually,
Did you do your
I
CrossFit
actually
this
have. I
morning?
went to a CrossFit class this morning, so I'm actually feeling energetic and I'm feeling alive. And obviously, I'm going to add excitement in there just because I got to have some time with you today.
So would it be okay if I pointed out the words you just used?
Yes, of course. Let's use me as the example
Fantastic.
today. It's going to be good.
Fantastic, alive, energized. Those are wonderful emotions to feel. And I love that you were able to pull those out. I feel fantastic. I feel alive. I feel energized. If I'm doing it for me, I went on a run about an hour and a half ago, and I feel alive is a great word for it, but I feel connected.
Mm.
When I run, I feel very connected physically to my body, and I feel hopeful. I've got some physical goals that I'm working on, and I feel hopeful for that. Yeah, so we start with physical, then we go to emotional. The second step is
Can
emotional.
I check in one thing with you? Just because I want
Yeah.
people to think about this as well. Listen, you and I are both obviously physically fit. That makes us our bodies feel good, and that helps a lot. But there's going to be a lot of listeners out there right now who may be in a place where regular exercise they don't have time for. What are the other signs that we can look for in our body to help us guide us in our emotions as well. Maybe you and I are feeling alive today, so fantastic. But what about for the person that is feeling potentially anxiety or stress or feeling lonely? How could it show up in their physical body that even if they can't identify the exact emotion, as you said, most people only have three emotions they may be able to identify. Is there any other way that we can use our body as almost like a guidance system on how we're feeling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a fascinating study. They actually they had a group of people wear these sweatsuits, and I don't mean like sweats. I mean like the suits that were designed to collect sweat.
Oh,
So they put them in these basically these rubber suits that would collect sweat. They had one group run on a treadmill. They had another group skydive, and they collected the sweat from each group. Okay, it's a little gross, but it's a fascinating study. And then they took a third group and they put them in an fMRI machine and they let that group smell the sweat from each of the other groups. And and when they smelled the sweat from the group that was on the treadmill, they had no response. When they smelt the sweat from the group that was skydiving, the amygdala immediately lit up, and the fear response kicked in. And the people in the skydiving, they literally excreted fear.
wow. Isn't that interesting?
And so our bodies, our emotions can affect our bodies. It can affect it in the way we sweat. It can affect it in the things we do. We can heal our bodies with how we think. It's fascinating. And so yes, going back to, well, what if I don't feel alive? What if I feel sluggish? What if I feel those are important emotions to tap into. And my entire platform is called Counterfeit Emotions,
Yeah,
right?
we're going to talk about that soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that people know that there's no such thing as a bad emotion. Even if you like starting with physical, let's say I feel sluggish, I feel incapable, I feel fat or too
Stuck.
short or too tall, or I feel stuck or I feel too skinny, or it doesn't matter what it is. Those are messages. And being able to actually say the words I feel, that is an amazing thing that brings awareness and actually moves us to action, is
Mm.
just simply identifying what it is that I feel.
Yeah, well, I really wanted people to understand that as well, is that even sometimes we can't name our emotions, but our bodies will tell us how we're feeling, not just physically if you have an injury or an illness, but if you're emotionally not well, it will reflect in your body too, and you could use that as a guidance system. So I loved you share that. Thank you. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I want to make sure everybody gets their full abilities today to tap into their emotions. So next
That's
one, we've
awesome.
got physical. What's our E?
Our E is emotional. Actually, one more thing on the
Okay.
physical. Um, our bodies will tell us our emotions. So, for example, and I've surveyed hundreds, maybe thousands of people around this, is that fear has a physical sensation.
Mm,
Joy has a physical sensation. And the one that I like to bring out is fear because so many people are so familiar with the feeling, the anatomical feeling of fear. And for everybody, it's a little bit different. But for if you look at the research, there's a couple similarities that happens with everybody when fear happens. So one is shallow breath. You start breathing quick and shallow. Two is accelerated heart rate. You all of a sudden your heart starts to go faster. Three is sweat. Like your body is telling you, hey, right now you're experiencing fear. And for me personally, fear feels like this steel band across my chest that's squeezing in. It feels constrictive. It feels like there's this pressure and it's it's crazy because when I feel that in the past, before I started studying emotions, I would just have no recognition of what was going on. I just knew something was wrong. That's it. Now, when I feel those exact emotions, I was like, oh, hey, there's my old buddy Fear. How you doing, Fear? Welcome. Let's have a conversation. And
Mm,
I actually invite it in to start to understand what message Fear is trying to bring me.
mm. Oh, I love that for people. It's like you can sit down and have a cup of tea with your fear. And I think that's a beautiful invitation for us to begin to recognize. I know for me, it comes in my gut. I have a very specific spot. It's
Yeah,
that it's the same thing as you get in your chest. I get it in my gut. And that identification and inviting it in. I really want people to hear that part, is invite that fear in so that you can look at it a little bit more closely. Where is it coming from? And how can you begin to regulate that emotion as well? Because fear can keep us stuck in our lives. Fear
oh
can
yeah.
hold us back from doing something new. But what we also know about fear is the minute you're able to step past it and walk past it, even just one step, is the minute it gets easier and easier that you've now identified it. And now you've got a little more freedom to step forward and a
Yeah.
little more peace of mind because our monkey mind's not going crazy with all of the things that could
Yeah.
possibly go wrong, right?
Yep. So true.
Love that. Okay, let's move on. So now we've learned about our physicality, how we can use this as a tool to understand our emotions and identify with them. What's our next one today?
Yeah. So the next one is emotional.
Okay.
Emotionally, how am I feeling?
Yeah.
And and at this very second, emotionally, I feel connected to you because we get to share this experience. I feel excited that the listeners get to learn these skills and these tools. This morning, if you would have asked me that same thing, I got an email that was a little bit of a jarring email, and I would have said a very different thing, and that's okay. But as of this moment, um, I feel grateful because of the way I was able to connect with my Patty this morning. And feel grateful because of this connection as well. I feel that I'm excited to be on the show with you. And so those are the emotions that I'm feeling. How would you say you're feeling at the moment?
Beautiful. Well, I love that you did a comparison to something that happened this morning and how that shifted into today for you. Because honestly, if you had asked me yesterday, I was having an exhausted, low, stuck day a little bit and struggling just to get through work because I was feeling a little too tired in my day and a little overwhelmed. And I realized today that just the simple action of making sure that when my alarm went off, I got up out of bed and I got the day going and started. It was a completely different day for me today. I was excited to get going. I couldn't wait to dig
Mhm.
into work today. I couldn't wait for our time together as well. And so I really make note of those emotional shifts for me every day. So on the bad days like yesterday, I just kept telling myself, this too shall pass. This day will pass. I'll have a good night's sleep today.
Yes.
I'll feel different tomorrow. And it was true. And it was true. So I use that comparison as well, and make sure that I'm starting the day with the clear intention of how I want to feel. I do that every morning. So that
Oh,
helps me. Yeah, I set my day up. I have a funny little practice that I do. It's a love practice so that I make sure that I intentionally go out into the world with love every day.
ooh, tell me more. I love that. I so love that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
as soon as I wake up every day, and it was what a very special friend taught me in my life. And so I have you can call it a little intention, a mantra, a prayer, whatever works best for you. But I literally start the day saying, if love were a person, because I believe in the heart of all of us, we are pure love. If love were a person, what would love think? Because that's the first thing that goes sideways for me is that, my beautiful brain and my mind going sideways on me. So what would love think? What would love say? And what would love do? And I take that intention forward with me every day so that I'm aligned. I'm aligned with what I call my true self and my true nature every day, which for me is love. And then I know I'm going out into the world with at least a good intention. And then if it goes sideways, I have something I can fall back on and say, oh, yeah, remember? I, I was going to lead with love today.
Thank you for sharing
And
that
love
with
feels
me.
good. We all know that, right? We all know how love feels.
Feels so
Love
good.
feels good. And so it
Feels
sets my
so good.
intention that that's how I want to feel today, as I want to feel love today.
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that with me. I felt that as you
Yeah.
shared it. Thank you so much.
Well, I think if we have those practice, our emotional practices, right? And we're going to
Hmm.
talk even more about practices today because I think that's a big part for everybody. But, we need to have the practices that create our life. Forget even set our life, but create that life we want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, so physical, we're doing our emotional check-ins. What's our M? What's next with our M?
M is mental or
Mental.
intellectual.
Okay.
And this is one that's often neglected. We don't realize that intellectually we feel. We
Hmm.
feel intellectually, we feel mentally. And this is one that people are like, well, I don't know what adjective to put with this. Um, and so some of those words to be able to use is I feel sharp. Like
Mm.
today, I feel really sharp. I feel stimulated intellectually. I feel invigorated. I feel stuck intellectually. I feel dull. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep. Maybe you didn't get a run in and you ate a lot of sugar for breakfast, and now you're just feeling now you're just on the downhill. So maybe the emotion is dull. I feel dull. But it's important to tap into that piece of us that is the mental or the intellectual.
Yeah, yeah. That's where we can really, I think, listen to that voice in our head that's, telling us the good stories of what might not be good enough. Because I think we know when we're in a bit of a flow state or a
Hmm.
good state where we're very clear and very creative. And then we have those days. That was me yesterday, right? I was, feeling a bit stuck, definitely not clear, definitely had too much sugar the night before. So that's why I was laughing. So that all played into it. So I love that intellectual component and that mental component, what's going on in our head and where can we potentially start making some shifts for ourselves too.
Yeah. Yep.
If there was one thing you could give us, Curtis, with that intellectual, that mental state, one small trick or tool that we could use to start to shift that, even if it's at the beginning of our day or at the middle of our day, how can we begin to create a little shift with that mental state, that intellectual state we're in?
Yeah. One beautiful adjective slash emotion is curiosity.
Mm,
And curiosity is one of the most transcendent emotions we'll ever feel. Curiosity is so beautiful. And intellectually, it really applies. Am I feeling intellectually curious? Am I, and I don't mean the counterfeit of curiosity, which is suspicion. Am I truly, genuinely tapping into my heart and feeling that curiosity of life, of of my place, my purpose in life, of my current tasks? Am I present? That's another wonderful adjective for intellectual. Am I present? But really getting curious about life, about my place in the world and about those around me. That is a truly transcendent
mm.
emotion.
So let's use that example of, we're getting up in the morning and let's say we've gotten as far as our morning coffee and we're standing in the shower. And
Hmm.
already we're feeling a little, I like that word you use, dull. We're not feeling really lit up. We're not feeling excited to go to work. We know what we might be facing. It may be a lot of stress, a lot of deadlines, a lot of unknowns right now with a lot of people at work at the moment. When it comes to curiosity, instead of the usual mantras that potentially might go through your head, like, I hate my job, I don't want to do this project that's coming up, I don't like my coworker that's sitting beside me at work, they drive me crazy. Because that's really the usual for most people. How can we change that around right from that get-go? I'm standing in the shower, I've got the project in front of me that just I'm dreading doing. How can I turn that into a question that allows more curiosity?
Yeah. Jacqueline, you were asking the best questions today. This is so good. One of the ways you can do that is we often fall into a victim mind state.
Right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and it's this question that we ask ourselves is why is this happening to me? Why did my car break? Why did I lose my job? Why did all of these bad, I put that in air quotes, bad things happen? Why are they happening to me? And there's one word that shifts us from victim to victor, and that's for. Is when we're in that shower thinking, oh, why did I have to get this project? Why did I have to, have all of these horrible things? We can say, instead of why did this happen to me, why did this happen for me?
So we could really look at that project as more of a learning opportunity. So,
Yeah,
oh, why did the boss give me this terrible project? Well, maybe your boss believes in you. Maybe your boss knows that out of anybody in the company, you are the one that we're going to be able to have the resilience to get through it, right? This is going to build those muscles inside of you that are going to make you stronger because the hardest things we do just build our muscle, right? It's not
yeah,
just our muscles from working out, it's our muscles in our brain and our ability to do it. And how we can then take a look at that project and instead of going, oh, this terrible project, it's going to make me a stronger person. It's going to make me better at my job. It's going to help me understand I can go way further than I thought I could. Would that be the
yeah.
type of narrative I could change to?
That's exactly it. Is
Yes.
this is going to give me opportunity to future opportunity. This is going to give me learning now. This is going to give me growth. This is going to be amazing. And it's incredible because when we change that, like we talked about earlier, physiologically our body changes. Our
Mm,
body actually changes to start to address that where it might have been dread in the past, that excitement now of, wow, this is amazing. Like he wouldn't have given me this opportunity if he didn't believe in me, my potential, or my boss, if she didn't think that I was somebody that could really handle this, she must really trust me.
I love
And
that. That's a
and
perfect narrative to change when we're feeling the negative side. How do we flip that coin and turn it into something that's going to actually benefit us versus keep pulling us down and pulling us down?
yeah. And if we
Like,
look at the transcendence ladder, if we look at, at the very bottom rung is victim. Why
right.
did this happen to me?
Yeah.
We step up and we ask, why did this happen for me? Well, there's actually another level, and we can even ask, how is this happening through me?
Mm,
How can this happen through me? So, and we go from victim to victor to vessel,
wow.
and we say, you know what? This can not only be for my good, but this can be for the good of my family, for the good of those around me, my neighbors, my coworkers. This can be for the good of others. My pain can be for the good of others.
That's a beautiful framing. I love that. And that gives us something really to work with, just the visualization of the ladder of how can I keep changing that, taking a step up, right? Towards that vision of how is this of service to everyone around me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Okay, our next step,
Yes, social.
social.
So,
Okay.
so how am I feeling socially?
Yeah, that really talks to people, especially when we heard those numbers that so many people are suffering from depression and anxiety. That's when I think we really lock ourselves down in our homes where we are and we don't have that connection with others. So tell us the importance of that social connection.
Yeah. So the if I were to describe or put some adjectives to this, it could be socially, I'm feeling isolated. If you're feeling that loneliness, if you're feeling that separation, that would be another one. Socially, I'm feeling separated. Socially, I'm feeling
Mm.
unaccepted. Socially, I feel like, um, and the opposite is true as well. Socially, I feel like I belong. Socially, I feel supported. Socially, I feel seen, those words, but it's really important to understand without judgment. And with all of these, the important thing is to say there's no judgment on whatever it is I'm feeling. If it's lonely, okay, it's lonely. If it's connected and supported, okay, it's connected and supported. But removing the judgment from the emotion, just saying, you know what what it is. Today I feel a little bit lonely. All that is a messenger. It's the postman saying, here you go. Here's the envelope. This is the message I need you to read right now. And if it's lonely, okay, it's lonely. Now, what do we do about that? Where do we go with that feeling?
I think this is such an important one just because, again, if loneliness has now become a pandemic, literally in the United States, and I know that's where you're located, how can people take a step? I think the stat of, on average, people are picking up their phones 144 times a day. That to me is
Mhm.
a reflection that they're looking for connection, that we're looking for a connection from somewhere. And whether that's a DM on our socials, that's a like on your post, that's an email in your inbox, or a text message from a friend or family member, if we're checking our phone that often, it's really because we're looking to be connected. So, other than our phone, what are some of the other, what are your ideas in regards to helping people sustain connection? Because a lot of people will say, friendships can be a lot harder these days because of our phones. People are living with their heads down. I know in Amsterdam right now, they're actually creating spaces and cafes where there's no, you put your phone at the door when you arrive. It gets all
Mm.
cataloged and you put your phone down. And these spaces are just literally for that, to sit and make connections with others, doing your own thing. So you might be writing, you might be reading, but you're around and you're with other people and nobody's on their phone, which is
Um,
fascinating and love it. They're popping up. They're like these little social cafes. But what are some of the ways that you would tell people? How do they connect when you're feeling isolated and you don't feel like putting yourself out there, or you don't know where to go, or how do I connect with people?
yeah, our these little devices in our pockets, they are they say we're connected, but they're
Mm,
actually a great way to disconnect.
yeah.
And the fact is, there might be a picture of someone you've seen online, or maybe even a friend, but that is not the friend. That is a set of pixels, electronic pixels that are shining in your face. That's not the actual friend. And one thing that I've made a practice in my life, and I invite several of the people that go through my programs, etc., to also do is what I call a digital fast.
Mm,
And in the same way, traditional fasting is fasting from food and water. This is fasting from the phone. And so regularly on Sundays, I won't even pick up my phone. I'll leave it on the charger and I will set it there. And when I first started doing this, it was fascinating. I literally felt a buzz in my pocket where no phone was present. I, I felt that buzz and I was like, wait, I'm thinking I need to answer an alert or a ding or a beep and when I first started doing this, I was like, this is so telling that my brain is so dependent on this device that I'm feeling a physical sensation. They call them the phantom
right.
sensation
Yeah.
of this phone in my pocket. And and it's so wonderful. I consider that I give myself a gift on Sundays of not touching my phone.
Yeah.
And and I give myself freedom. I unlock the chain to my phone and I say no. And that goes for TV, all digital media, is I just disconnect. And because I disconnect, I start to connect with me first, and then with my family, and then with others. And I find that I'm able to be so much more present when there is not that device close to me.
I love that you just said, I connect to myself first. I think this is a really big missing piece for so many people. And if you didn't hear that, I'm repeating it because I think that we're so busy in our lives with work and taking care of our families, or all of the things that we need to take care of in our lives. Life has become about constantly doing that, we forget to connect with ourselves. What does that mean to you, Curtis, when you say I connect to myself? As a
Yeah.
mom, it took me like 15 years to learn that I needed to take time to do that. So that's why to me it's like, and hold on, can you please tell everybody how many children you have, please?
So, between my wife Patty and I, we have 12 kids. And so,
Like carve time for yourself. Figure out that one.
yeah. And taking time for myself, I call it selfies, doing a selfie. And I don't mean grabbing the phone and taking the photo. What I mean is giving myself a daily gift. Giving myself a daily gift of, for me, what that looks like is going on a run. I
Mm,
love to run because for me, it's my Zen time. For
right.
me, it's the time that I get to stamp my cares into the concrete and leave them behind me step by step. It's the time where I get to breathe deeply and feel the air in my lungs. It's the time that I get to connect with my muscles and feel the power as they propel me forward. It's the time that I just get to go, and so running is one. Another one for me is playing guitar and singing.
Mm,
Like we've got a deck behind our house and the sun comes up and especially during the summer, not so much in the winter in Utah, but in the summer I'll go sit on our deck and I'll take my guitar with me. And it's only, 10, 15 minutes. It's not long, but I'll just sit there and greet the sun and play music. And I don't do it for anybody else. I don't care if anybody hears. It is completely a gift for me to be able to connect with myself. And the neuroscience behind this is fascinating because not only am I giving myself a gift, but I literally am reprogramming my vagus nerve. And our bodies are 80% efferent and only 20% afferent, which means in the electric superhighway of our bodies that 80% of the signals go up to the brain and 20% come down. So only 20% are going down, and our bodies are giving us signals all day long. And what happens when we do this, when we go running, when we sing and play guitar, when we greet the sun, when we do yoga, whatever it is for you, whatever gift you're giving yourself, is that it actually changes the signals up and down the vagus nerve and it creates a parasympathetic state, which in layman's term, what that means is that a sympathetic state is the fight or flight response. Parasympathetic is the rest and digest. It tells your body you're okay. Hey body. I know I don't talk much going down, but this 10, 15 minutes is going to tell the body you're okay and the body goes, "Oh, thanks. I don't have to stress about this anymore. Thank you so much." And it sets the mood, it sets the tone for the entire day.
I love that. One of the things that I picked up on that you said as well is that it's going to be different for everyone.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
you're a runner, I'm a runner, we get that, but not everybody's a runner. We get that too.
Yeah. Yep.
It's really finding the thing, and this is what I know about science, and what it tells us, from a giving side, and we do this with 365 Give as well, is giving isn't just giving to other people. Giving is to yourself, and you get those
Yes.
benefits. And it's
Yes.
exactly what you were talking about. It. We call it your daily dose of happiness. And it's you get the same dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and endorphin hit when you give to somebody else. You get that when you give to yourself.
Mm.
And I love that you're really expressing that to everybody is that, that's where it needs to start. When we fill our cup, I used to have a little exchange with a friend of mine. We used to do a check your cup. And that was from Brown too. She does it with her husband. And they would say, how full is your cup? Right. And, some days you might come home and your cup is only 50% and your partner is maybe 65%. So the partner with 65% takes on a little more than the person that has a 50% cup. Right. But
Yeah.
when we start to fill our own cup, and that's what I'm hearing from you, is that when you fill your cup that little bit, right, all of a sudden you're more calm and you have more to give to everybody else around you. And when you have 12 children, holy, holy. You got to give a lot to say that I only have three, and I think that's a lot.
And to be fair, there's only three left at home.
Well, it doesn't matter. Children actually never go away. They're still around. They
Yeah,
still come and go in and out and call in emergencies and when they need help and support and all the things. So we know that
yeah,
about kids as well. Can you give us your how to give to myself are running and guitar. I love that. Can you give us like five things for people that maybe aren't quite as active or three
yeah,
things? Let's do three.
yeah.
Three things that
Actually,
people could try out for themselves. Because I think this is a bit of a test, right? You got to find your own practices that work for you. So give
yeah,
us some more ideas around that. What are the practices people could try?
yeah. It's funny. I just happen to have my drawing pad right here,
Oh, amazing.
and I decided that I was going to learn how to draw
Oh
and
my Lord. That's
how to
beautiful.
draw art, and specifically, I'm fascinated by eyes,
Wow.
and so, um, but the funny thing is I never.
Incredible.
I never considered myself an artist. In fact, oh, there's a sad eye.
Wow. You are
In
now. That's
in
incredible.
in fact, I consider myself the opposite. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do this without expectation. I'm gonna just see if I could figure this out, and not for anybody else, not to post online, not to do any of that, just for my sake. And so I did, and it takes me about an hour 15 to draw one eye
Wow. Incredible.
and and it's so beautiful because it is so cathartic just to sit and grab my pencils and just start going and move into this different space, and actually the brain waves change.
Right.
The theta and the delta, they flux in and out when you're doing something like this. And so so drawing is a great one. Learning to paint is a great one.
Mm.
Spending time with a pet. I we have this is going to be telling as well. We have three dogs also.
Oh, the
And
kids went, so you had to have dogs.
yeah, a few too many probably. But just sitting with an animal and petting that animal, it's proven scientifically that that instantly lowers the heart rate. The
Mm.
stress response, it releases, excuse me, it takes cortisol out of your body. It's a beautiful thing. So giving yourself the gift of just spending time with a pet.
Oh.
Um,
You know, I'm going to interrupt you for one sec because I want to give our listeners this little thought as well that even if you don't have a pet, a lot of people live places that they can't, you could go volunteer down at a local shelter, right?
yeah,
And spend time.
yeah,
It was one of the things that I still do it with the kids, where we'll go down and we'll just like hang out with the cats because they just need company and cuddles and petting. Or maybe you go spend some volunteer time and become a dog walker for your local animal rescue shelter, if
yeah.
that's your thing as well. So I love that. That's a great idea because we know that literally turns on your oxytocin. That's our love hormone, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it literally does. Yeah, and it fights the cortisol. Yeah, the all of those are so wonderful.
amazing.
It might be taking a nap. It's 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you know what? I'm going to give myself the gift of a 20-minute nap.
I should have done that
It
yesterday.
sounds
Dancing,
like
dancing would be a good one
yes,
too, wouldn't it?
yes.
I did
Uh,
that this morning when I woke up. I needed a little extra juice, so I put on some music before I went to my class. And I got to tell you, that helped a lot this morning.
Yeah, music is phenomenal. Dancing, yes. One thing that my Patty and I we do is at night, almost every night, not 100%, but almost every night before bed, we'll turn on a slow song
Oh, perfect.
and we'll press our hearts together
I love
and
it.
we'll look in each other's eyes and just sway back and forth. And
Mm.
it's amazing because our hearts produce an electromagnetic wave. And it's not voodoo, magic, nothing. This
That's
is
science.
scientific. You can go to the hospital and you can have somebody with an EKG or ECG measure the magnetism of your heart. And when you press your heart together with someone else's heart, they literally magnetize,
Yeah.
and this energy field surrounds you, and it's so beautiful because you can feel that. And the Gottmans, they found that a 6-second kiss and a 20-second hug releases all the happy drugs, the oxytocin, the serotonin, the vasopressin, the all of them. And it's beautiful because when you do that, you feel that connection, you feel that release. You're just like, ah. And every time I'm in Patty's arms, I just feel like I'm home. I
I
feel
love
like,
it. It's like you're going to go out and inspire everybody to, hold one of those signs that say free hugs and just stand in the streets and hug each other. It would completely work. I love that.
that's awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, are we all the way through or do we have one more S?
We have two more S's.
Two more S's. Okay.
Yes. So socially, then
Yeah.
spiritually.
Spiritually, that was it. Yeah, we did socially, so spiritually. That's a big one for people.
Yeah, yeah. And
That's a lot of
oftentimes,
confusion. Are we talking God? Are we talking religion? Are we talking church? Are we talking woo-woo? What are we talking today, Curtis?
yeah. Yeah. Is is tapping into your spirit. Do you feel connected to you? One of my favorite books is Letting Go by David Hawkins.
Mhm.
And it is amazing because he he shows that we are not our bodies, we are not our decisions, our past, our we are not even our emotions or our thoughts. That the true nature of us is something more. And that is our spirit. That is the essence of us. And tapping into that connection, tapping into God. For me, I'm Christian. I'm LDS, and I ask myself, do I feel connected to God? Do I feel connected to my values? Because your values are a spiritual thing. Do I feel connected to that part of me that thinks celestial, that thinks beyond just today I've got a deadline, but there's a bigger picture in mind. So tapping into that spirituality. And for people, multiple people, it's different. Some people
Absolutely.
uh, are not Christian, and that's okay. There's
Well, there's the God force, right? There's so many names for it these days in regards to what we can, a higher power.
your
I know
creator.
Neil Donald
Yeah.
Walsh, he calls it unlimited love. Depending on the spiritual leader that you talk to, they all have their different ways of saying and expressing it, but ultimately it just means the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so tapping into that. Today, I feel connected. Today, I feel full of purpose. Today, I feel seen by God. Today, I feel wanted. You know,
Mm.
those type of emotions. Or maybe it's today I don't feel connected. And again, that's a message. That's just a message that says, okay, it's time for me to put in the work to reconnect.
Yeah.
It's time for me to do that.
Yeah. And that can be, the fact that you're Christian and you have a community of support around you. I would think through your church, which
Yeah.
I love and respect. Or if you have spiritual practices, I don't go to church, but I'm a very spiritual person and have very clear and strong beliefs and truths for myself about a higher presence within all of us. And it's going to sound really funny. When I'm going to go back to the phone, this is where we can actually use it as a good tool. My prayer every day is a meditation prayer. I do it twice a day, once in the morning, once at night, and I do it on an app where you get to connect to so many people. And in this case, like right in my own community where I can connect to people. Somebody sent me a meditation this morning that I did, a friend that I
Mm.
have on the app, right? And every morning I have a group of people where we'll just send a little message saying, thank you for meditating with me today. And so you can find community in lots of different ways. It doesn't just have to be a church
Yeah.
that you go to, depending on your practice that you use. Listen, for a lot of people who have been struggling in their lives, it may even be AAA, an AA meeting,
Yeah.
where you've built a
Yeah.
community that helps with different types of addiction in your life. And what we know, whether it's your phone, it's alcohol, it's drugs, it's sex, it's all of those things that we know we can become addicted to. It all serves the same purpose that we get connected to people around us that support us in a similar belief and a similar process and similar practices. I want to go back to that again because I know even in a church, we have practices, right?
Hmm.
And you have practices of prayer and song and connection that make us feel whole and complete. And that's what I'm really hearing from you, Curtis, with this spiritual practice, is how it makes us really feel aligned with ourselves and the people around us.
Yeah. And I love those two words you just used, whole and complete.
Mm,
Spiritually, do I feel fractured or do I feel whole? And if I do feel fractured, don't judge that. Just use it as the message that it says, okay, then I need to pull these pieces of me that I've exiled, I need to pull them back in and I need to
love that.
bring
Yeah.
that into wholeness. Yeah.
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 And finding your own way to do that. I know we keep saying kind of the same things in some ways, but it's going to be different for everybody. Church might not be your thing and a meditation app might not be your thing, but go
Yeah.
find out, maybe it's a yoga class, right? I mean, yoga isn't about the exercise, yoga is about the practice, right? And
Yeah.
it's about the yoga traditions that actually are about connecting to yourself, right? So go
Yeah.
find the thing that works for you, but keep exploring it until you find where that connection comes for you.
And that's the key is
Yeah.
go find it. Go find it. And breath work is a great way to tap into your spirit. Like it's, yeah, go find it, whatever that is.
Walking
If
in nature, right? It's
yes, yes,
running. Even
absolutely.
running is part of that for me. That's where I get my full spiritual connection is out on a long run by the ocean. I'm set for the week
Yeah.
with one of those.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So the final one is sexually.
Oh yes, we
Sexually,
can't
how
skip
do I
that.
feel?
That's an important part.
Yeah. And and specifically with my recovery program. So I help men overcome pornography usage.
Right. Sexual
And
addiction. Yeah.
yeah, and we actually don't call it addiction
No.
because clinically, if you look, you can actually see addiction in the brain. And most men are not addicted to pornography. They're addicted to shame.
Mm.
And once we can pull the shame out and replace it for the authentic emotion, shame is the counterfeit. Once we can replace it with the authentic emotion of guilt and help them tap into that, it's amazing how it just vanishes. It just disappears out of their lives. And so this is a really important one is sexually, how am I feeling? And this actually has a couple different components. It doesn't mean just am I feeling like a compulsion, a sexual compulsion? Am I feeling attracted or, am I feeling sexy, whatever. It also deals with our relationships as men and women, husbands and fathers, wives and mothers. It deals with the entire picture of our sexuality, our femininity or masculinity, our all of that. So that one, that check-in is also one of the ones that most people skip is like, do I need to check in on this? Do I need to understand this? And the answer is yes, it's an important part of our lives.
Absolutely. And I think as well, a lot of times we don't talk about a lot about our sexuality. I think probably more so the generation that's coming up is much better at it. I see it already with my 18-year-old and his friendship group that they're much more comfortable with sexual conversation. And I wanted to say sexual as in sex, but the broader picture of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I know for our generation, it was like you
Oh,
never talked like never
zip
talked
it.
about that, right? And in a lot
Yeah.
of cultures, it still is. So, I think one of the things that we always need to remind people, we can talk about our spirituality and we can talk about our emotions. We can't bypass our humanness. Right.
Yeah.
And that's very much part of it. All of our emotions are what makes us human. And no matter how much we shove them down, we tell everybody we're fine, we say we're okay. And when that comes to sexuality and every other emotion we feel, we are human. It's biologically programmed into us. So rather than just, going back to that fine statement, instead tapping into all the parts of ourself, which
Yeah.
include our sexuality and how we're feeling, and even as we're aging.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s. I'm happy to admit that, and it very much changes biologically by the time you're in your 50s. And still being
Yeah.
able to tap into that side of yourself and connect is important. And that we're not feeling shame and fear. And I love that this is going to bring us right into because we've snuck it in there a couple of times. I've heard you say it, but the counterfeit emotions. And you said when you're dealing with the men and you're talking about sexuality, the counterfeit emotion is shame. So before we take even one more step, can you explain to us, because this is really your expertise, what you have created, the frameworks in which you do all of your work as an emotionologist is counterfeit emotions. You even have a book on this. All of your programs are based on this. It's amazing work that you do. Talk to us about counterfeit emotions.
Yeah, thank you so much for having this conversation because it is critical. And it's fascinating because when we grow up, we're all taught opposite emotions. It's easy to see an emotion that's on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. For example, love and hate. Love says hug, hate says hit, right? And that's easy. We're taught that from birth. You look at the seven deadly sins, or in Buddhism, it's the five kleshas, or in the Bhagavad Gita, there's all these things that say, do the good, don't do the bad, right? And we put them as opposing emotions. And it's easy to see love, don't hate, but what about that emotion that slides right up next to love? And looks and acts and feels like love, but creates these destructive cycles of disconnection in our lives. That emotion for love is lust.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love
Yeah,
says
we've all been
hug.
in lust before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
and like
says
6
hug.
weeks it's over and you don't know what just happened to the best thing that ever happened to you. It's done,
You're like,
right?
what is all this? Yes. And love says hug, hate says hit, but love says kiss, and lust says kiss. It's the exact same
Thing.
emotion.
Yeah.
And that's why these emotions are so sneaky, is because that the danger is we don't even see it when it's happening because it's not the opposite. It's not hug and hit, it's kiss and kiss. And we don't even recognize, wait, what am I actually feeling here?
Yeah.
And understanding the difference. We talked a little about guilt and shame. And guilt is a beautiful, healthy, important emotion. It is critical. According to the DSM-5, the guidebook of therapists and psychologists, there's only four personality types that can't feel guilt: psychopath, sociopath, narcissist, and borderline. And if we didn't have guilt in our lives, we'd be a bunch of psychopaths and narcissists running around. Guilt is a
I
guiding
don't know. The
star.
word's being led by a few of them right now.
It's it's
We're
crazy
being
because
trained by a few at the moment. So, oh,
yeah, and but yet guilt is healthy and beautiful, yet shame does such a good job of pretending to be guilt that shame traps us in those cycles of disconnection. And it's fascinating because Brene Brown, as well as the University of Oslo, they did two independent studies. They just happen to be very similar. And if you go back in the research, almost every paper for the last 50, 100 years says the guilt slash shame study. It's so good at mimicking, so good at masquerading that even the researchers put them together. But for the first time, Brene Brown and the University of Oslo, they did these studies that said, let's look at the effect of shame. And what they found was there's a direct correlation, there's a direct path into bullying, suicidal ideation, sexual promiscuity, drugs. You go through the list. Shame is the path in. But this was what was revolutionary is they flipped it. And they said, well, what about guilt? And they found that guilt was a path out. You want to get into addiction, get into shame. You want to get out, get into guilt.
hmm.
And most people may be thinking, well, what's the difference? And this is a really easy way to understand it. Guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says I am wrong.
Mm,
Guilt says I made a mistake and I can fix that. Shame says my character, my existence on earth is a mistake. And understanding the difference is that guilt moves us to action. And the root emotion of guilt is empathy.
mm,
The root emotion says, I know what it feels like to be hurt, and I hurt you. And I can tap into that pain in you. And therefore, I'm going to come to you, and in love, I'm going to do everything I can to make it right. That's the power of guilt. And the beautiful thing about guilt is that when it does its job, and its job is to move you to action, its job is to connect you with others. When guilt does its job, it says, thanks, I'm out. And it leaves, it's done. Shame. Shame says no. You need to continue to beat yourself up. You need to continue to tell yourself you're lousy, you're no good. Shame comes in and says, "No, you have to hold on to this." And you have to just pulverize yourself emotionally and say you're not of worth. And and that's the difference between guilt and shame. The one is so healthy and so beautiful and so connecting. It's funny because Gildan is the etymology of the word. It comes from the root word gilden, which is an Old English word from the 1300s that means to make amends, to repay, or make
Mm,
whole. The
beautiful.
feeling of guilt is I want to make you whole. I want to do what I can to make you whole. Shame, shame is no, you're just worthless. And not only you're worthless, but let's separate those. And now you're worth less. So we're going to start you at zero
Yeah,
and we're going
makes
to
complete
start
sense.
comparing and get worth less and less and less.
Love that.
And
That's such a beautiful explanation, and for people to understand because shame can be crippling, literally in
yeah,
our lives, and keep us in all of those words we were saying, stuck in those loops of anxiety and depression and trying to find our way out and staying connected to ourselves and the people around us as well. And shame can block all of that for us. Could you
yeah.
give us some more examples of the counterfeit? We talked about, love and lust and love
Mhm.
and hate. What are some of the other examples that you could give us between some of the counterfeit emotions and the ways that we could take a look at these a little differently?
Yeah. In the framework, there's 42 different pairs or what I call
I
dyads.
love it. Give me your favorite three today. Three more than what we've done.
Oh, that's tough.
No,
That's
I
like
want, see,
saying
because I want
my
people to go
favorite
read your book.
children.
We're not giving it all away today. I want them to go read the book.
Yeah, and we're so excited because we're just about to send out the book proposal. The ones that come to mind based on our conversation, one of my favorites is surrender versus resignation.
Okay.
Surrender, along with curiosity, is one of the most transcendent emotions you can
Yeah.
feel. If you go back to the Buddha said that all suffering comes from attachment. And it's so true because we attach to things, we put our worth in things. If we just surrender our fear, surrender our pain, surrender to the journey of life, then all of a sudden everything that was this big horrible monster in our life, it it disappears and it transmutes into something so different.
Mm.
And people think, especially men, when I talk about surrender with men, they're like, I'm not waving the white flag. I'm not, giving up and
Right.
throwing in the towel. And that's not what it means. Surrender doesn't mean give up. That's its counterfeit of resignation. Resignation says it's not worth it. Surrender says do your best and give God the rest. Do everything you can. And when you do, surrender the consequences. Surrender what comes next. Just do everything you can and then let it go.
Beautiful.
And I love getting into a state of surrender because it truly is transcendent. It's
And that is a practice. That one is a
yes.
practice. And we know this because we, we'll think that we recognize, well, let's go through the process you and I've been talking about today. You're become aware of an emotion. Okay, let's say you're
Mhm.
angry at somebody. You can become aware of that emotion. You decide why you're angry at them. You decide you want to lay that down, let it go, surrender it. So it's not controlling, how you're feeling anymore. it's not like you can just, and maybe I'm wrong, but maybe you can help us with this. Okay, so today I'm not going to be angry at this person. I'm going to surrender that, let go, let God. But it's not quite that simple, is it? It's not just going to disappear in that moment and I get to move on.
No, anger is, I'm so glad you brought up anger because anger is an important emotion. And it turns out it's actually the counterfeit. It took me a year and a half of research to truly distill it down. And anger is the counterfeit of advocacy.
Mm.
And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
only two reasons anyone ever gets angry.
Yeah.
Only two. The first is danger.
Yeah.
There's imminent harm. The bear is chasing you in the woods, and anger says, pick up the stick and poke it in the eye, right? There's adrenaline, there's a physical response that comes with that. And that's important. Advocacy taps into the second reason that we'll get angry is injustice.
Yeah.
And let me restate, perceived injustice.
Yes.
It may or
Yes.
may not be a true injustice, but the perception of, hey, that's not fair, this is an injustice,
Yeah.
that's what that's the second reason. And those are the only two reasons we'll get angry is danger and perceived injustice.
Mm.
Advocacy. So it's not enough just to say, oh, I'm not gonna be angry.
Yeah. Just gonna,
You've
yeah.
got
Put that
these
down, walk away,
feelings.
leave you
Yeah,
back there. Yeah.
you've got these feelings inside, and there's an important reason you have them inside. The reason you have them inside is because your body's saying, you need to do something. There's an injustice. It's time to act. And anger actually provides the energy and the motivation behind that. But the important thing is, like, just like you said, it's not enough just to say, oh, I'm not going to be angry, because that's suppression. And every one of the dyads is actually part of a pendulum. And what I mean by that is on one side of the pendulum is anger. And I'm just gonna lash out. It's an underregulated emotion. I'm just whatever's inside, I'm just gonna
It's
spew it
coming.
all
Here it
over.
comes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have this big ball of anger over here. And then sometimes we're like, no, 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 you can't do that. And we let the ball drop and the pendulum swings to the other side. The other side is passivity.
Mm.
And the opposite of uncentered is still uncentered.
Yeah. It's just
It's,
swung to the other side.
it's just on the other side of the pendulum. And what we find right in the middle, what we find in center is advocacy, is saying, I see an injustice and I'm going to act on that, but I'm going to do it in love. I'm going to act in love. And a great example, are you okay if we walk through this
Oh,
example?
please. Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay. And it's okay if you don't know the answer. Um, but the question is, and most people don't. I've asked thousands and thousands of people
Okay.
this question. There's only been two people that knew the answer. Um, and so the question is, who is Huey Newton?
Sorry, who is
Huey Newton.
no clue who Huey Newton is?
That's okay.
Right.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
We're all gonna know now today.
Yep. And let me ask another question. Who is Martin Luther King Jr.?
Well, he is the gentleman that stood up for the rights. He was an advocate for civil rights in the United States.
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody knows him, not
Yeah.
just in the US and Canada,
Yeah. Yeah.
all
Yeah.
across the
Yeah. And I'm
world.
Canadian, everybody. I'm not American. Yeah.
All across the world, everyone knows who Martin Luther King Jr. is.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who Gandhi is. And Huey Newton was the one of the founders of the Black Panthers.
Mm,
The Black Panthers saw an injustice and they went strictly to anger.
right.
They firebombed cars, they killed police officers, they rioted, they destroyed businesses. They took that and said, there's an injustice, let's rage.
Right.
Martin Luther King Jr. said the exact same thing. There's an injustice that we're going to use love to overcome. And he said, I will not stand for this injustice, but what I will do is I will stand with 1 million people at the foot of the Lincoln Memorial and decry this injustice. But I'm going to do it in a way that invites people in instead of pushing people out. Anger is always destructive. Advocacy is always constructive.
Mm, love that.
Advocacy builds up, anger tears down.
Mm. What a perfect message for everyone today, and especially with the state that many places in our world are at, because I think there's a lot of anger being felt at the moment for many reasons in our world, not just the United States, but in so many places around our world, and a lot of the fear that goes along with that, with AI and what's happening with the unknown at the moment and all that's coming. And, I love this, Curtis, because these are really tools. These are ways that we can start reframing our life, understanding our emotions, and learning a new way of dealing with right where we are. And I love that you turned it to advocacy and not anger so that the destruction in our world becomes a little less. And instead, to me, that's an invitation to stand with others, right? To stand with
Yes.
yourself and to stand with others and to really look. I know when I get angry, I'm the first one to admit, I've had many occasions where I've gotten angry in my life, but I look at it as I'm going to go back to what you were even saying earlier as an opportunity. It's an opportunity
Yeah.
for me to learn. It's an opportunity to go, what's really going on here? And where do I need to be? And as soon as you said advocate, for me, it was where do I need to be an advocate for myself? So forget even the bigger
Mm,
picture, the Martin Luther Kings of the world. Where am I not being an advocate for myself? Because anger is to me something that's just built up over time for usually lots of reasons. So let's say you get in a fight with your spouse. I know you don't fight with your spouse, but let's say we get into a fight with our spouse. Lots of people do. Where is it that maybe you haven't been that advocate to find your own voice or to allow your voice, and instead you've suppressed it? I love that word that you said, that sometimes when we're angry we don't say anything because it's easier not to say anything. Or
yeah.
I'm fine. Let's go back to our fine, right? I'm not
Yeah.
angry. I'm fine, right? Fine.
I'm not angry.
It's
I'm
kind of
fine.
fine, right? And we're not, because we're just suppressing that emotion at that time. Where instead, maybe in a calmer state, when we're regulated, and we'll keep going back to that. I didn't understand emotional regulation until I had kids.
Yeah.
And I had kids, I hadn't even heard the word emotional regulation until I had kids. And I had kids, my kids all have neural differences. And regulation and emotional regulation is the very first thing that they teach you when you have neurodiverse children, that your
Mm,
kids can't function at all. Your brain stops functioning, literally. Forget at its peak, it's barely functioning at all. When you're emotionally dysregulated, your prefrontal cortex just, it's not working anymore. It's almost like it's cut off and you're not thinking straight, literally.
yeah.
And when you look at or you talk to neuroscientists, they'll literally say that you're no longer thinking straight because your emotional regulation has taken you out of a state where you can actually think straight. So when we see anger show up in our lives, I know I've been like that. When I'm angry, I'm no longer thinking straight at all.
Yeah.
And I have to take that time where I go, okay, I need to stand back. I need to go get emotionally regulated before, I don't know, I continue a conversation, or I'm upset at the kids for some reason, whatever that might be. And I'll literally say, I need to get emotionally regulated first, and then let's come back. So I can go take a look at that emotion and go, what's really going on? That's what I always say to myself. What's really going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I always find it's much deeper. It's like I put the mirror up to my face and say, okay, stop blaming everybody else for how I'm feeling. And instead take a look at what's really going on for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And thinking about that pendulum, on the one side you've got anger or aggression. On the other side you have passivity or suppression. I'm
Right.
just going to push it all down. Neither one of those are helpful. But right in the center with advocacy is you have expression.
Love
You
that.
say, I'm going to address this, and I'm going to do it in a way that's inviting. I'm going to do it in a way that brings people in. And what you said goes to another dyad of, and this one kind of breaks people's brains, is that nice is the counterfeit of kind.
Hmm. Yep. Okay. You're going to snap our brains. And considering it's World Kindness Day today, it's perfect.
Right. That's perfect. So, yes, kindness is a virtue. Nice is nothing more than a defense mechanism to avoid conflict.
Mm. It's kind of like
And
fine almost, isn't it? It's like nice is like yeah, I'm just going to be nice just to shut everybody down almost.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going to appease you so you don't get mad at me, or I'm going
right.
to do the dishes when you're mad so that I can, say, how could you be mean to someone that's so
Right.
nice? And it's not honest and it's actually manipulative. Nice is manipulative. And you think, well, wait, I've been taught my whole life to be nice.
Yeah.
And Santa has his naughty and nice list, and
Right.
Bambi's best friend, Thumper, he tells me, can't say nothing nice, don't say nothing at all. And, all of those things. But the truth is, nice is very disconnecting.
Mm.
Nice, and it's one of the sneakiest counterfeits of out there because people are like, oh, he's so nice. And if you would have known me 10 years ago, you would have been just like everyone else. Curtis is the nicest guy on the planet. And now I hope I never hear those words again. because because nice is not boundaried.
Yeah.
Nice will put everyone else's needs above our own. Nice will it'll appease. It'll be the doormat or the yes man, or it'll be that person that is like, whatever you say, I don't care. And if you look at the origin of the word nice, the etymology says that nice comes from a Latin-based word called necius. And necius means ignorant,
Ooh,
right?
right.
It's like, wait, I'm being
Ooh.
ignorant? And you think about the how well that applies to be nice.
Yeah.
You have your opinion, and I'm just going to be ignorant about mine. I'm not going to say a single word about my opinion or what I know that could help you. I'm not going to have the hard conversations with you. I'm just going to be ignorant about all of that. Even though I may see a destructive habit or pattern in your life, I'm never going to have that conversation because I don't want to rock the boat. My whole purpose is just to make sure I don't rock the boat. And the trouble with that is if you don't rock the boat, that means you're not rowing the boat. That means you're not progressing your relationship, that you're stagnant, you're stuck, that you do not create an environment of connection. You create this false mask of happiness, even though there's tension, even though there's the potential for conflict.
Mhm.
And and nice will say, I'm going to avoid conflict at all cost. Kind does something magical. Kind says, I'm not just going to resolve conflict, I'm going to transform conflict into connection.
Mm.
Every chance there is for conflict is a chance for connection. Everyone, universally. And when we change our mindset from, oh, you see things different than I do, therefore we have to have conflict, we have to butt heads. Instead of that, we can say, you see things different than I do. Wonderful. Let me see you. Let me understand you. Let me become part of your heart so that we can together figure out a solution for what we're working on.
Wouldn't that just be the way the world should work? I say Curtis for president.
Oh
Sorry.
dear. Oh dear.
We need a little of that right now. If we had that running the world in all the major countries, wouldn't that look like a different world? So simple. So simple.
It's so transformational. Yeah.
Right? Literally transformational. And that's what I heard when you said those words. I went, oh, we could transform the whole world. Literally. And
Yeah.
they say that about kindness. Obviously, we talk a lot about that at 365 Give, but we know there's a reason there's a World Kindness Day. It's for that kind of transformation, right? And the
Yeah.
weeks and the days and the everyday practice. If we practice kindness every day, what a world it would be, wouldn't it?
It would.
Not
It
just being
would.
nice.
Yeah.
Because now none of us want to be nice anymore, Curtis. None of us want to be nice.
One of the most beautiful
Curtis,
things.
before we wrap up today, what a transformational conversation this has been. Thank you so much. Curtis, if there were three things people today could take with them to start their own practices, to start their own emotional intelligent practices, and to understand how they're really feeling in our world and in their own lives, what are those three things you would encourage today?
The first The first is name your emotions. Name what you're feeling. The second is witness.
Mm,
Is you are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are not your emotions. Just witness them. Almost like you're laying on the grass on a summer day and you see these clouds above you in the sky and you say, "Oh, there's the anxiety cloud. There it goes." And you
okay.
can just watch it float on by because most emotions last for a total of 90 seconds.
Right. They come
And you
and they go all the time. Right.
and instead of saying, "I feel this, therefore I have to act on this," say, "I feel this, and I'm just going to watch it. I'm
Mm,
just going to watch this emotion come into my heart, come into my body, and I'm going to watch it float on by."
beautiful. And
And
our
then
third?
and then the third, once we name the emotion, once we watch it float through, the third is to tap into the two emotions that run through all the authentic. Every authentic emotion has two base emotions, and those base emotions are love and surrender.
Mm,
And when we do that, we find the one emotion that can't be counterfeited, and that's peace.
yes. And that's our full circle, right? When we do these and we practice this, this is when we can find more peace in our lives, not because the outside world isn't busy and there isn't a lot going on, but because that's actually the peace within us, isn't it, Curtis?
Yeah. Peace is
Yes.
not absence from the storm,
No.
it's safety in the storm.
Mm. And isn't that what we should all reach for? Because in that state of being, that's where we feel most alive.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
feel
I
most
love that.
authentic.
That's when a morning run just feels like paradise, right?
So true. So, so true.
Curtis, where is the best thing? And I want to share with everybody before we go. Curtis, we're going to have his link below here in the description for the show today. So you're going to be able to find him there. You have so many courses people could go start doing today. They could just sign up, start doing your courses. They can learn more about this. Where is the best places to find you so we can be inspired by you, where we can follow you, and where we can reach you quickly and easily? Because we all need to start today. Everybody, today, we all need to start doing this.
The best place is counterfeitemotions.com.
Okay,
If you want to look at the recovery program, it's counterfeitemotions.com/recovery.
perfect.
And then on social media, yes, please go like, follow on YouTube. It's Authentic Curtis. Authentic Curtis is my handle across all of the Instagram and Facebook
Beautiful.
and LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn. It's just my name. So
Yeah, perfect. I love it. That's amazing, Curtis. Thank you so much for being with us today on the Human Impact Theory podcast. You have brought in so much to my world. I know you're going to bring so much to everybody's world here, and most of all, the world as a whole, because understanding our emotions and being in emotional regulation for ourselves affects everyone around us. And you, my friend, affected me today so much. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time and the space and place that you're taking up in this world. Wow, we're just so blessed. So thank you. I wish you a beautiful day on purpose. Thank you for being here with us. And please, everyone, remember 365 Give is a registered charity. The best thing that you can do to support us today is to subscribe, follow, and most of all, share this episode with your friends. Everybody needs to hear this and everybody needs to learn from Curtis. So thank you so much. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
thanks, Jacqueline.